Les damos la bienvenida a todos a la primera conferencia internacional de DAMA en Uruguay, que hoy cuenta con la presencia de Scott Taylor presentando su libro Telling Your Data Story. Antes de comenzar, les comento que esta sesión está siendo grabada y que en unos días va a estar subida en nuestro sitio web de DAMA Uruguay, así todos pueden consultarla y volver a verla todas las veces que deseen. Ahora los dejo en compañía de Cecilia Poitevin, presidenta de nuestro capítulo DAMA Uruguay. Adelante, Ceci.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Les quería comentar un poquito primero de qué se trata DAMA. Nacional es un sin fines de lucro de profesionales en gestión de datos, que son personas que vienen de diferentes disciplinas, de tecnología y de diferentes áreas de negocio, ¿no? Tiene capítulos en el mundo, ¿sí? Y DAMA Uruguay es uno de esos capítulos, estamos asociados a DAMA Internacional. ¿Cuál es nuestro propósito en DAMA Uruguay? Alineado a los objetivos de DAMA Internacional, es justamente formar una comunidad que integre personas de diferentes disciplinas, ¿sí? Diferentes organizaciones, para profesionalizar la gestión de datos en nuestro país, ¿sí? Así que invitamos justamente a las personas de tecnología, que es por un lado el área tradicional donde trabajamos con datos, pero sobre todo a otras áreas que no son de tecnología, ya sea áreas de analítica, comercial, operaciones, todas las áreas de las organizaciones. Es importante que trabajen y conozcan lo que es la gestión de datos y podamos hacer justamente una gestión profesional de los mismos. Así que bueno, ese es nuestro propósito en DAMA Uruguay y bueno, los convocamos a todos a acercarse a nosotros. Otra cosa que les quiero contar es, bueno, quiénes formamos DAMA Uruguay, quiénes somos los que estamos trabajando todos los días en esta asociación. Rápidamente, bueno, estoy yo, pero Javier Barreiro, Leonardo Bachi, Zulma Suárez, Daniel Llosa, Mónica Francía, Mercedes Cobas, Gustavo Mesa y Laura Rodríguez, somos quienes integramos la comisión directiva y estamos, bueno, justamente generando este tipo de iniciativas para el desarrollo profesional de todos ustedes, ¿sí? Además, tenemos una serie de voluntarios que nos ayudan en diferentes actividades, como los grupos de estudio, el mantenimiento del sitio web, bueno, un montón de cosas en los que también quienes están interesados puedan participar. Y eso es todo lo que yo les quiero contar, porque hoy lo importante no es esto, sino lo que viene después.
Bueno, antes de dar paso a nuestro orador principal, queremos agradecer también a nuestros sponsors, a Montevideo.com, a Nores Data, Markenetics, UQ Business School y a la Universidad Católica del Uruguay por su constante apoyo. Y también vamos a compartir con ustedes un par de mensajes de ellos.
Te invitamos al taller de Gobierno de Datos, donde podrás aprender distintas estrategias para que puedas diseñar la que mejor se adapta a tu organización. Ingresa a noresdata.com.
Y ahora sí, Scott Taylor, conocido como The Data Whisperer, ha ayudado a innumerables empresas a instruir a sus ejecutivos sobre el valor estratégico de la gestión adecuada de datos. Se centra en la alineación empresarial y el porqué estratégico en el lugar del cómo técnico. Como consultor principal de Meta Consulting, ayuda a empresas y marcas tecnológicas a contar sus historias de datos. Actualmente vive en Bridgeton, Connecticut, Estados Unidos, y pueden seguirlo en su canal de YouTube. Scott, it's a pleasure for me to introduce you. Scott Taylor, the Data Whisperer. Go ahead, Scott. The webinar is all yours.
Thank you. Gracias, Monica.
You're welcome.
Are we all set there? Yes. Should I pin myself? There we go. Buenas noches, everyone. Scott Taylor, the Data Whisperer. Thrilled to be here. What a great turnout. Thank you so much. Gracias to Monica and Cecilia and Gustavo and everyone at DAMA Uruguay to pull this together for me. I've been touring the world virtually. I wish I could be there in person, but since I can't go anywhere, I can be everywhere, working with already 33 different DAMA chapters and more to come maybe. Telling everybody and sharing this idea of telling your data story, data storytelling for data management by using what I call the 3 V's, which I will certainly take it from. Let me start my timer here. Oops, one more. Oh, there we go. So please mute, just a couple of technical, pin me. I think I'm already there. Put any questions you have in the chat. We'll take a look afterwards. We'll answer them at the end. Feel free to post if you want to take a screenshot of any of the presentation or share it in any way. Happy to do that. The recording will be available afterwards, as well as the slides, which is the #1 question I get, so I'll answer that right away. Yes, the slides will be available, and off we go. Every enterprise has a data story to tell, and it's about why managing data is of strategic importance to your organization. Now, you know that. I know that. It's the people who are not on this call at your company who don't know that. It's the people on the business side who don't understand it. We've got to reach out to the C-level leadership, to your business stakeholders, to the people who have the money to do what you want to do. And the reason you need to tell a good story about managing data is because we all need more funding for the work we have to get done for our organization. Let me say right up front, the truth about data is you must determine the truth first before you derive meaning. Always that way. It's not chicken or egg, it is egg and omelet. Determine truth before you derive meaning out of data. Obviously, I'm on the truth team, hence the meaning of my truth hat. But you've got to do the work in data management before an organization can leverage all the kinds of activity you might get out of business intelligence, analytics, and so on. And I don't mean anything personal here. A lot of people think that when you talk about truth, there is no truth in this world. What's the meaning of life? We're talking about business. We're talking about commercial activity. We're talking about your company, not your own personal philosophical journey. And it is possible to determine the truth for an organization, to manage the truth. You can handle the truth as data managers in your organization. So the agenda today, telling your data management story. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my data story, why you should even listen to me, why you need a data story for your organization, the relevance of data management across all the other things that are going on in the space that people tend to think are more exciting, the types of data storytelling, and then leveraging these 3 V's, as I call them, a knowing wink to the 3 V's of big data: vocabulary, voice, and vision. And then I'll show you a few examples of how to put it all in play. I'm not going to teach you anything about how to do data management today. You already know that. What I want to try to do is provide you with some new ways to talk about what you already know. We've got to break through to the business side. We've got to get your CEO to understand this and all the other business leaders, because data management suffers a little bit from not being too exciting, especially when all this other cool, hot stuff is going on. So we want to be able to reach out to those business folks and realize what we do is as important as anything else. Before I go too much further, I want to thank my sponsors. Even though I'm not traveling the world, they are supporting me in this endeavor. I've got 3 of them. One is the great folks at Wind Shuttle. They provide MDM and PIM software. If you're interested in any of those, please let me know. Also, a wonderful consulting group based out of the United Kingdom, the Comma Group. They focus specifically and only on data management and MDM implementation. They're great on handling the culture side and the technical side. And I'm a host of a 26.2-hour Master Data Marathon, as we call it, produced by the folks at ThinkLinkers. This is the third one we're doing. It's in September. If you want to stay up all night with Master Data, please join us. There's a promo code there for all the DAMA chapter members. MDM30 gets you 30% off on what we call the Pro Pass. And you can check them out at thinklinkers.com. So some 3 great sponsors there who help me share the work that I do with all of you. Now, a little bit about me. As I mentioned, I am the why, not the how. Every business person I have ever spoken to, certainly at the senior levels, they don't care about the how until they understand and support the why. So everything I'm going to talk about today is why data management is so important. I've been an advocate for data management in a variety of ways for almost 30 years. Talk about, I don't want to count how many, and focus squarely on the strategic value of proper data management at the enterprise level. I've worked for some really iconic data brands. Nielsen, Dun & Bradstreet, spent 15 years at Nielsen learning the space in terms of master data and reference data and data management. And I do a lot of taxonomy product consulting to help people leverage and monetize those assets. And now I focus almost exclusively on what I call data evangelism as a service. How do we get people excited about master data and data management the way they should at every organization? I wrote this book, Telling Your Data Story, Data Storytelling for Data Management. You can see right on the cover, it is 99% buzzword free. That's a guarantee. I can guarantee. Try to come up with some very business accessible ways and simplifying the space we're in so the business side will understand it. One of my favorite reviews in Amazon was a must read for anyone who needs funding in data management. That's the whole purpose of the book. And I'm the #1 data book in Amazon in performing arts. Through some sort of bizarre AI-based categorization process, Amazon put my book in several categories, including the performing arts category. And even though I'm only ranking 193, all the other books are about music, acting, dancing. So that makes me the #1 data book in performing arts. So you can make analytics do anything you want, kids. I do a ton of content. If you haven't seen it already, please watch my Too Much Tech Talk puppet show. I've got a couple of my friends there on my hands, the CDO, the Chief Dog Officer, and the ITB, who speaks only in buzzwords. I posted a master data cartoon, the backstory of a superhero, master data, the most important data any organization has. And I even shared some bad data ideas that you'll want to avoid. In case you haven't noticed, big spoiler alert, I don't do a whole lot of whispering. I'm here to yell, tell, and sell the power of data management. We save the whispering for the data. I'm in the who's who of data management according to Analytica. As I mentioned, I hosted this Master Data Marathon, #1 thought leader in big data according to Thinkers 360, and I'm the data god of data whispering. All sorts of wonderful accolades people have shared with me. And I think I'm kind of hardwired for the data management space because my parents told me as a child, instead of building with my Lego, I sorted it. I bet some of you sorted your Lego when you were children. That's why you're in the space you're in. We need Lego builders, but we also need Lego sorters. And that's what we do in data management for sure, is sort and structure and organize the critical information so those Lego builders out there can do what they need to do. What inspired me to write the book is I was listening to the market and all this talk about data science, data literacy, and data storytelling. Where is the voice of data management? I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it loud enough. I didn't hear it declaratively enough. We've got to get our voice out there. So I took it upon myself to be the one sort of data whispering the rest of the folks to make sure they hear what we need to say about the importance of data management. If you follow some of these leaders and you follow the Dataversity site, they work with DAMA on Enterprise Data World and a few other events. Two of these iconic data leaders, John Landley and Tom Redman, the data doc, wrote a post last year, and their headline was, "Data management has failed." And as a community, we have failed to educate leaders and craft messages that people will listen to. I agree. It's very hard to listen to how we talk about data management. I agreed so much that the next month I posted my response. Data management hasn't failed, but data management storytelling has. Let's not kill the messengers. Let's fix the messaging. Data management messaging is very hard to listen to, and an overwhelming majority of data management programs suffer from an inability to demonstrate and communicate business alignment. Two things. You got to demonstrate it, then you have to communicate it. You have to do it, and then you have to tell people about it. Fun fact here, both of our blogs ranked numbered 3 and 4 last year of all the postings in Dataversity. So obviously, what we're saying is resonating with folks out in the marketplace. McKinsey also posted this white paper, 6 ways to drive data governance excellence. And if you take a look at them, 3 of them, secure top management's attention, integrate with primary transformation themes, and generate excitement about data, those things all require a story, a way to reach out and connect on an emotional level with the business leaders in your organization to have them understand the importance of data governance excellence. You got to be able to tell a story. When we look at all the macro trends going on out there, and there are a lot of transformational themes that our leaders are thinking about, keeping them up all night, whether you've jumped into e-commerce more and more since last year because of COVID, if you're a financial services company or a banker and you have to do know your customer, every organization is dealing with data privacy regulations. If you're trying to move your business model to as a service, if you're looking at forms of digital transformation, transforming your customer experience, the Internet of Things, the fourth industrial revolution, all these tech trends take technology. And if there's technology, there's hardware, there's software, there's data. And where there's data, there needs to be data management. So all these macro trends out there, I suggest to you, data management is macro trend agnostic. No matter what these bubbles were 5 years ago, no matter what these big trends are today, no matter what they're going to be in 5 or 10 years, if they have technology, they're going to need data management. They're going to need the work that you do. Not everybody realizes that. That's part of this process. How do we make sure all our business leaders understand that if they're doing these sorts of things, they're going to need the work that you do? There are some folks out there who don't even realize digital means data. So the truth about data management is the value of every digitally transformative customer experience, every as-a-service offering, every foray into e-commerce, every enterprise software implementation is inextricably linked to the successful output of your data management efforts. Just a big, super fancy, long way to just say, G-I-G-O, garbage in, garbage out, rubbish in, rubbish out. Maybe it's goodness in, goodness out, that works too. But this cliche, as real as it is, doesn't drive anybody to take any action. I try to elevate this conversation to the idea of the golden rule of data. Do unto your data as you would have it do unto you. What you put into data management is directly connected to the value you get out of business intelligence. If you put bad data into ERP, you get a bad ERP. You put bad data into CRM, you get missed customer opportunities. Bad data into FinTech, you might get a visit from the regulators. Bad data into BI, BS. Bad data into AI, AS. Artificial stupidity. No matter how you slice it, no matter how you dice it, the golden rule of data prevails. Do unto your data as you would have it do unto you. Remember also that good decisions on bad data are just bad decisions you don't know about yet. Lots of different ways to say the same thing, but we've got to remind the business folks of cause and effect. What you put in is what you get out. Now, data storytelling, which is the topic of tonight, probably the hottest non-technical thing going on in the data space. There are almost 30 books on data storytelling out there. I looked at many of them and realized every one of them was about analytics, was about business intelligence, visualization, ways to take data and put it in a business context to drive action. Very important, super strategic. But there was something missing. Where was the story about data management? So I realized that was the book I needed to write. So there are two types of data storytelling right now, as far as I'm concerned, one for business intelligence and one for data management. That analytics and business intelligence story, that is about deriving meaning, data literacy, data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, visualization, data management, determining the truth. Data governance, data quality, master data, reference data, MDM, RDM, PIM, DAM, all these foundational activities that curate, manage, and deliver that solid content foundation that allows the business intelligence folks to do the work they do. So two types of data storytelling, one for business intelligence, stories with data, using it, the other for data management, about the data, making it. You don't have to make a choice here. Every organization needs both. But the data managers, and certainly the folks in DAMA, need to work more on the data management storytelling side of it. Now, how do you start your data management story? Some people start with information from some of the big analysts. That always tries to set the scene. I love this research, I guess it's called. Gartner did a study measuring organizations that measure the value of master data. 90% said, no, we don't measure it. 10% said other. I assume yes is in other. What kind of data is this? Or do you start your story with the terms that we know well, but your business folks don't? You run into your CEO's office and say, we need a golden record. And they go, well, that sounds expensive. There's cartoons in the book, by the way. There's all kinds of cartoons in the book. Or do you start like this? Beautiful. Look at that data model. Everything works. This is 100% how. You put this up in front of your business stakeholders, they will leave the room or kick you out of it. This is not how to talk about your data story. This is way too technical. This is 100% how. We've got to focus on the why. How do you find the why? How do you find the why in your organization? Well, every enterprise has a data story about data management, and it starts with the purpose of your company. What does your business do? Every company I've had the fortune to talk to, and I've talked to every type of company in my career at every level of maturity all over the world. And to sum it up in one sentence, every company provides value to their relationships through their brands at scale. That's what you want to do. Provide value to your relationships through your brands at scale. Scale is your opportunity. Scale means technology. Technology, hardware, software, data. Data needs data management. The value we bring, there's only three ways I've found that organizations can create value: grow, improve, protect. Grow the business, increase sales, improve the business, operational efficiency, protect the business, mitigate risk. The beauty of the kind of data that you manage is it can do all three of those things sometimes even with the same record. That's the kind of value data can bring to an organization. Help it grow, help it improve, help it protect, all at the same time. Now, when you think about this and making it relatable to what you do, fill in some of the blanks. When we say relationships, What words do you use for that? Is it customer? Is it vendor? Is it partner? Is it prospect? Is it consumer? Is it citizen? Is it patient? Is it client? They're all different terms depending on the business you're in, but they're all relationships. And relationships are why you're in business. If you don't have relationships, you don't have a business. So we've got to protect and manage the data about those relationships. And when we say brands, could be a product, a service, an offering, a banner, a location, could be a finished good that's produced with materials and ingredients. Whatever you make and whatever you sell to the people who buy it, that's where they get their value. But if you're in the master data space, you probably already recognize that these blue and green words are classic master data domains. I'm sure your CEO will agree that they are trying to provide value to their relationships through their brands at scale. So you've got to say, how's the data on those relationships? How's the data on those brands? Is it managed well enough for us to do what we want to do? That's how you start to begin to connect what we do in data management to where your business is going. Now we talk about these 3 V's of data storytelling: vocabulary. You want to establish an accessible vocabulary. Voice. You want to harmonize to a common voice. And vision. You want to illuminate the business vision. When you establish a vocabulary, an accessible vocabulary, the words you use are important. This legacy lexicon we have. If you walk into your organization, you walk into your business stakeholders and start talking about data quality, this might seem heresy here, but words like quality, they're emotional, they're subjective. Everybody has a definition of quality. I don't know a single organization where their number one, top 10 kind of objective is, we need better data quality. You might walk in and say, the reason we need to do this, we have to improve our data quality. Who cares? Why? That's what you need to focus on. Well, we need to do our digital transformation efforts. We're moving to an as-a-service offering. We've got to go into e-commerce. Those are the reasons why. Start with those things. Don't start with data quality. You know you're doing it for a reason. Share that reason with them right up front. That's how it gets their attention. Words like cleansing, freshness, hygiene. You want to clear a room of business stakeholders? Tell them they're all going to be part of a data hygiene program. They're going to run for the door. These tactical, project-oriented, sometimes even clerical words don't generate enough excitement about data. They sound like a chore. We got enough problems other than just trying to make our stuff sound exciting. So try to use definitive words, strategic words. We need a structure for our customer master. We need to set a standard for our organization. We need to cover all the data and organize it within all our different enterprise applications. We're trying to drive interoperability and aggregate and integrate with our partners. You'll find things that your company's doing that will talk about those words, and those are the kinds of words you want to use. Think about the enterprise terminology you have for your relationships. We went through some of them: customer, vendor, partner, prospect, and the brands and hierarchies that you've got: parent-child relationships, ship to, build to, plan to, sell to. Lots of different levels you work at. Your business already understands that. How do you segment your activity? Customer segmentation, market share, targeting, all that's based off of segmentation. And what type of geographies do you use? Sales market, media market, measurement market. Start working on those words because there's data about all those things in your systems that you're trying to manage. And if we don't have a common way to talk about those things, we're not going to get the support we need. Every industry has some form of nomenclature, of terminology that's specific to that sector, to that vertical. Find the industry association that you're part of. They tend to publish a lot of these words that your business already understands. And a little vocabulary tip here. Start with your own existing business glossary. If you've done that hard work to get consensus in your organization about what is a customer or what is a product or what is our hierarchy, use those words to describe it to the rest of the business. The second fee is harmonize to a common voice. Now, harmony doesn't mean everybody sings the same notes, but it does mean they sound good together. How do you tell the story today? If you had a minute or 5 minutes with your board or your C-level executives, how would you talk about what you want to do with data management? Have you practiced that? Do you have that pitch ready? It is a pitch. When I talk about storytelling, I don't mean some big, long, meandering, epic fable of adventure and thrills and excitement. We're talking about a pitch. You've got to drive a business action. People have to commit to what you want them to commit to at the end of it. That's selling. If you have experience in sales, that's great. If you don't get too nervous. But the kind of story we are telling here is a pitch. You've got to convince folks of the benefits of what you have to offer. Avoid those in-depth technical explanations. Don't use a lot of these cliched false starts like data quality, as I mentioned, or data's the new oil. What does that even mean anymore? The fact that people argue about that phrase means it's not a very good way to describe the value. You need a consistent tone and tenor. Does your entire team, can they all tell this story the same way? Once you get your program going, you may have to create some internal communication vehicles, almost a marketing program for what you do. I work with lots of organizations, podcasts, how to put the story together, how to pitch it, how to get, data hero of the month going, all these different kind of marketing techniques that organizations use to generate excitement about data and keep the data management program going. We all know data management is not a project. It's not a one-time thing. It's a journey. It's a program. It's ongoing. When you do think about metaphors and similes and imagery are great ways to shortcut understanding. Look at the same brand imagery and positioning you already have. If you've got a company slogan, maybe replace a word with data. See how it sounds. Play around with what your company does and change that into kind of the analogy for data. If you're in the healthcare business, data is the lifeblood of our organization. A healthy business runs off healthy data. I saw a presentation from someone in the Department of Defense, and they said data is the payload for our business. Not everybody can use that, but it certainly worked for that organization. And here's an example, a couple of tips here too. You want to seek out other data storytellers in your organization. Partner with folks in marketing, in sales, even in corporate communications. These people are great storytellers. If you can't tell a story in sales, you don't make quota. You're also, if you're looking for funding, sometimes you compete with these folks. And if you're up there against marketing and sales, they tell great stories. So again, it's building those soft skills. A lot of corporate communication departments have resources to help people do presentations, to put stories together, to build a narrative. Leverage those resources. Get up on your feet. You'll do great. You've got a good story to tell. The last one is you want to illuminate the business vision. That's that last B. Everything you do in data management needs to enable the strategic intentions of your enterprise. Where is your company going? Listen for the major initiatives you've got that use words about relationships and brands. Again, we can hook the data management activity to that. And it's about the business. We're all part of the business. I don't know about this kind of legacy way we divide it. We've got business versus IT and data. That separation's got to go away. It's too siloed in that thinking. We are all part of the business. You are as much part of your business as anyone else. But you've got to learn about your business. It's impossible to know too much about what your business does. And find those data problems, or find the problems out there in the business side that data can help solve. Here's a vision tip. If you do have to figure out where your business is going, you're looking for that story that your executives are telling, check things that they've already published. Listen to what your leaders say. Read your annual report. Read your strategy statement, company meetings, an investor day presentation. That's a gold mine for clues and terminology and statements about the purpose of your company, about how your company is trying to bring value to their relationships through your brands at scale. You will find them everywhere. They're hidden in plain sight. Use those words, use that presentation as a framework for your own presentation about how data is going to help your organization get to where it wants to go. Now let's kind of pull it all together here. So I'll show you some examples. Let's put this all in play. I took an Investor Day presentation. This is an actual piece of work I did while I was at Dun & Bradstreet. We were working with an IT part of the organization. They handled data management as well in those days. They didn't have a CDO yet. So they were trying to figure out, okay, how do we sell this to the business side? We've done the ROI. We have the use cases. We have some technology recommendations, but it's just not clicking with the business folks. They still don't understand why it's so important. So we looked at what their business already talked about. And in this presentation, it's kind of a couple of slides all put together here to show you some highlights. We took it apart to find those 3 V's. First one we look for is vision. What's the vision of this company? It wasn't too hard to find. It's right there. It's got a box around it. It says, our vision, we aspire to be the premier partner of choice for our customers and suppliers. Relationships, right in the first statement. If the data about those relationships isn't any good, they're not going to get there. We look for the voice of this company. It was embedded in a lot of the activity in their strategic framework. Customer engagement, enterprise effectiveness, brand management, grow the business, improve the business, protect the business, differentiate the customer experience, localize productivity and efficiency. Lots of activity and projects within there that data can help with. Then we look for the vocabulary. That vocabulary is embedded in these company fast facts. They did business in 90 countries. We talked about market definitions. Can you imagine in 90 countries, all the different ERP systems they had, different CRM systems, all the different terminology they used? This company actually grew by acquisition. So they've got all kinds of silos all over the world that they had to try and cut across with the data work that they're doing. 800 suppliers, 100,000 customers, lots of hierarchy in there, lots of data problems. So looking at their vision, they aspire to be the premier partner of choice for their customers and suppliers. Looking at their voice around customer engagement and effectiveness and brand management, looking at the vocabulary, we had to show them the data reality. Do they have the data to back up what their vision is? Here's a single example from a single record, took their customer master, bounced it against the third party, and we found for this particular record, they had 185 copies of the same record. Talk about duplicates. Nothing strategic about this. This is a mess. This is the definition of garbage in. How could they possibly be the premier partner of choice with Panasonic Mobile Communications when they have 185 copies of the same record? It's impossible. You probably have examples like this. You got to find them. That's part of the story. Showing people the garbage that's going in, showing them that they're breaking the golden rule of data. Find those duplicates. Find the 150 ways you might spell the same company. All those disparate, disconnected, conflicting ways that they try and talk about the same thing. They can't get there with this kind of data. They don't have the data to back it up. So when we talk about leveraging those 3 V's of data storytelling, the vocabulary is the words you use, the voice is the way you talk, and the vision is why it's important. And according to Richard Powers, a novelist, he said most brilliantly, the best arguments in the world won't change a person's mind. The only thing that can do it is a good story. So if you want to live happily ever after in your organization with your data story, remember every enterprise has a data story to tell. It's providing value to your relationships through your brands at scale. There are two types of data storytelling. One about data, data management, determining the truth, and the other with data, business intelligence, deriving meaning. You want to balance the how and why. I talked only about the why today, but if people say yes, you have to know how to do it. I expect you know how to do it. You want to get that sweet spot between the sizzle and the steak. Head in the clouds, feet on the ground. We've got a vision, but we can get it done. There's a balance there. You want to avoid those false starts. Don't whine on and drone on about data quality. Again, it just doesn't sell. It's important. You've got to measure it. You've got to master it. You've got to manage it. It just isn't very exciting if you're looking for funding. No, data is the new oil. Please don't say that. Some people just start with, there's so much data now than ever before. Is that relevant to your business? Use your own business objectives to start your data story. Leverage those 3 V's, vocabulary, voice, and vision, and an effective narrative captures the hearts and minds of the business. It can help unify and motivate your team. It's important for everyone in your part of the organization to understand why what they do is so important. The last page of my book, I'm not giving away any surprise endings here. The very last page I wrote. Hardware comes and goes. Software comes and goes. Data remains. I'll take a little break here for questions. I got a few more slides after that, but hopefully that helped you, give you some insight on how to tell your data story with these 3 V's. And happy to take any questions here if there are any. Let's see here. Q&A. How do you convince the business folks that may ask, how would you measure the success of a data management initiative if they ask for particular metrics? Excellent question, Lucas. Tie your metrics to the initiative that data management is enabling. There's lots of proof cases out there where, let's say, your organization is invested in CRM. They've already put that ROI together. They've already put that return on investment. Show that the CRM isn't going to get the value that they want unless you've got that data management. It's hard because data provides horizontal value across an organization. And people tend to think in these vertical silos. My project, my team, my initiative. Data can help populate, data can help enable all of those. So you want to be able to, it's what's very difficult and what tends to be a dead end is trying to prove the value of data management on its own. It's a challenge. Oh, we'll save this much time with records. Oh, we got rid of all these different API configurations. It's all kind of technical. Your CIO probably understands that value more quickly than the business side. But find the things that your organization's trying to do and hook what you're doing in data management and piggyback it off of that investment. Let's see here. Mercedes says, what is most difficult for me in the company is the very thing defining the why of data management. It's the hardest thing for me to convey in a way that the board can materialize. Do you have any tip to get into that? Again, so hopefully I gave you some tips today. I got a whole book on it where I talk about all these different projects that there's a section in the book where I talk about, I think I've got 10 examples of company initiatives that need data management without actually saying data management. So the challenge you have, and I know it's hard, I've been working with folks for decades trying to do this, and I had to learn myself, is kind of strip away those business things and show the data part of it. How can we cross-sell and upsell in our organization and maximize our customer relationships if we don't have a consistent hierarchy? How can we move from selling our widgets to licensing the value of our widgets as a service offering, very strategic initiative. You can't do that unless you've got that structured data underneath. Standards enable things. A good way to talk about it is we need to set a data standard in our organization, not for format, but for the content. And every industry has standards. If you're in the manufacturing space, just, the UPC, right? The little barcode, the gene tin. Imagine retail if it didn't have that standard. Imagine railroads if they didn't have a standard width for rail cars and rails. Screws and nuts and bolts that don't fit together. Lots of manufacturing examples that are very similar that you can apply to data. I understand it's hard because you can't really see data. You can feel it when it's bad, but it's hard to see that it isn't working unless there's a report that's wrong. So it's a challenge, and hopefully I've given you some ways to kind of share that. But the why is why your company is trying to do what it does. If there's any other questions there, let's see. From your experience, oh, sorry.
I can't translate that because it's in Spanish.
Okay.
And invito también a todos los que quieran hacer preguntas en español, se las traducimos si no quieren escribir en inglés. Scott, the question is about the initiative of data management led by IT people, and you don't have a glossary created on the company. What is your recommendation for that, for the vocabulary and the message?
I don't have a silver bullet for everything, but organizations that are finding, establishing leadership like a CDO, a chief data officer, that's outside of IT are succeeding really well. And they have that business orientation around the value of data. Part of the challenge we've seen in all these decades is data is kind of looked at as a thing in IT, and the business and other folks don't need to deal with it. So it is, again, it's another big challenge where you need to get, if IT just says, well, we already have, we don't need, we bought the software. That's a tough situation. Find the problems that your organization is dealing with that data can help solve, and work backwards from that. But the whole space is dealing with this legacy generation of the IT technical oriented focus on data, and the personification of the CDO as a role, I think, has opened up a lot of great opportunities for companies. So, from your experience, what's typical challenges within a data management initiative and how to surpass them? Yeah, I focus on there's lots and lots of challenges, especially on the execution side, on the culture side. I focus on the data story side. So as I mentioned right up front, one of the biggest problems is we have trouble articulating that value to the business stakeholders, and to executive leadership, who tend to think it's kind of a dull, almost boring, clerical, back office kind of thing. So the words you use, as I mentioned, are important. If you're going to go and talk about data hygiene all day, people aren't going to think that's very fun. If you're going to talk about how we're going to enable this new customer-facing initiative, we're running into e-commerce and we don't have the right product data. We're using all our operational data, putting that in front of consumers. People don't know what we sell. We've got to have standard data for all our retail partners. We've got to protect our data and manage it more strictly because of data privacy regulations. All these fall into that bucket. And a lot of these are, again, it's the thing I keep repeating is, how do you take, taking what you do in data management and connecting it to those high level things that your company is already talking about. So go find out those things, figure out what they are, and then show how data can connect to them.
I have a question, because these questions are from other topic. I have a question about data management initiatives. If we have to choose priority about the new analytics, or for example, EA, machine learning, or try to make the business do the best things about they are doing now. I don't know if you...
You mean, how do you choose between sort of analytics and data management?
Yes, or base data management initiatives on analytics, or based on the way the business are working now.
I mean, I think from this question, the problem we have is analytics sounds much more interesting. So it's proving that direct connection, determining the truth before deriving meaning, realizing that if you put bad data into ML, you get bad robots. The machine learning isn't going to work. Your data scientists, anything you read about data scientists, they're always complaining about how they spend 60 to 120% of their time munging and wrangling data. Do you have data scientists in your organization? Make sure they know that you're there, that you've got better data than they do. It's not going to get rid of all of that work, but if they're unduplicating data, if they're fixing hierarchies, segmentation, market geographies, unique codes, standardized address, all that kind of stuff, that should be done in data management. You can feed those data scientists with better content that will allow them to do much more of the work they were hired to do. So hopefully, I don't know if I answered that question, but that's kind of how I know we have a couple more minutes here, so let me sort of wrap up. Again, I want to thank my sponsors, Wind Shuttle and Comma and ThinkLinkers. I want to thank the folks at DAMA Uruguay here for having me, Cecilia, Monica, and Gustavo. Let me help you tell your data story. I just gave you a snippet today. If you're interested in the book, you can go to technicspubs.com. If you use my coupon code Data Whisperer, you'll save 20%. The e-version of the book delivers immediately. I do this kind of work. I do webinars, I do internal meetings, I do company meetings, team sessions, data story consulting, lots of ways to help people create that narrative to get their organization excited and committed to the work that we do. At the very least, if you like any of this, please follow me on LinkedIn. Just put your phone right up to that QR code. It'll take you right to my LinkedIn profile. Talk about being a data guy. I have 50 or more videos up on YouTube. Sometimes that'll help you tell your story. Everything from kind of comical stuff like puppets and cartoons to more serious, almost white paper-like discussions. But everything I do is about the power and value of data management. And if I can help you make a point, if I can help support what you're doing, validate your idea, then you can't steal this stuff from me. I'm giving it to you. That's the purpose of the work I do today, is to help folks like you who are doing that hard work in data management get the attention and the funding that you need. So again, gracias everybody. I thank you for sharing your early evening with me. Hopefully this was informative and you got a few ideas out of it. If you got a nugget or a new way to say something you already know, or a little twist of phrase, then I did my job today. So I want to thank you all again for your time.
Thanks, Scott. It was a great presentation. I'm sure everyone wants to read the whole book now, and they're going to buy it right now. So, si alguien más tiene alguna otra pregunta para Scott, si no, recordamos que queda el webinar grabado en la web de DAMA Uruguay. Scott,
yeah, I have one more thing here. We'll give away a free book to Lucas. Wrote a great question, and I think that was first. So Lucas Lober, if you can get me your email or get your email to Monica, we'll make sure you get a coupon for an electronic copy of the book. And hopefully that'll help you tell your data story as well. So
thanks.
Thank you, Scott. We have Lucas data, so we are going to send him.
All right, wonderful.
Bueno, muchas gracias a todos. Terminamos por acá. Gracias nuevamente. Thank you, Scott.
Buenas noches. Gracias, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Scott.